The day everything changed. Commander Zaltros of the Galactic Council had seen thousands of species rise and fall across the cosmos. His crystalline form shimmered with the light of a billion conquered worlds. But on this particular cycle, he received a transmission that would alter the course of galactic history forever. The humans. Those curious primates from the third planet of an unremarkable yellow star. They had been observed for centuries, studied like insects under glass. Weak bodies. Short lifespans. No natural armor, no telepathy, no energy manipulation. The Council had deemed them harmless, perhaps useful as laborers when the time came for integration. Zaltros opened the encrypted message from the observation fleet stationed near Earth's moon. What he saw made his ancient consciousness recoil in something he hadn't felt in millennia: fear. The human called Martinez. Dr. Sarah Martinez was not a warrior. She was not a politician. She was a theoretical physicist working in a small laboratory in Geneva, studying quantum mechanics and parallel dimensional theory. Her work was considered fringe science by many of her colleagues. Too theoretical, they said. Too dangerous, others whispered. But Sarah had discovered something extraordinary. She had found a way to collapse quantum probability fields on a macroscopic scale. In simpler terms, she had discovered how to make choices that would permanently alter reality across multiple dimensions simultaneously. The Galactic Council spies had intercepted her research. They understood the implications immediately, even if most humans did not. The visitors arrive. 3 massive ships appeared in Earth's orbit without warning. They dwarfed anything humanity had ever constructed. The message was broadcast in every language simultaneously. Surrender the scientist Martinez. Destroy all research related to probability collapse. Comply, or face extinction. World leaders panicked. The military mobilized. But what could they do against technology thousands of years beyond their own? Sarah Martinez watched the news from her apartment, her hands shaking. She understood why they wanted her work destroyed. The equations she had developed didn't just allow for one person to make choices. They allowed for a choice to echo backwards and forwards through time, rewriting causality itself. In the wrong hands, or even in the right hands with the wrong decision, her discovery could unmake reality. The impossible choice. The governments of Earth convened an emergency session. The debate was fierce. Some argued for immediate surrender. Others wanted to hide Dr. Martinez, to protect her research at all costs. Military leaders proposed desperate attacks on the alien vessels, knowing it would be suicide. But Sarah Martinez made a decision that none of them anticipated. She walked into the United Nations building alone, carrying a small drive containing all her research. Security tried to stop her, but she had sent messages ahead. The world leaders fell silent as she entered the assembly. Her words were simple: I will meet with them. Alone. The aliens agreed immediately. A single transport pod descended from the lead ship. Sarah stepped inside, and the pod rose back into the void. Inside the flagship, Commander Zaltros towered over the human scientist. Around them, holographic displays showed the power of the Galactic Council. 1,000,000 worlds, armies that could consume solar systems, weapons that could ignite stars. You understand why we have come, Zaltros said, his voice resonating through her mind rather than her ears. Your discovery threatens the fundamental order of the galaxy. Sarah nodded calmly. I understand that you're afraid. The temperature in the room dropped. Afraid? We are the Council of. You're afraid, Sarah interrupted, because for the first time, you've encountered something you can't control. My research doesn't just change probability. It changes choice itself. It gives power to individuals, not empires. Zaltros's form flickered with agitation. Which is precisely why it must be destroyed. Do you know how many civilizations have torn themselves apart when individuals gain too much power? We maintain order. We maintain peace. You maintain control, Sarah corrected. There's a difference. The demonstration. Sarah held up the drive. I'll make you a deal. Let me show you what this technology actually does. One demonstration. If, after that, you still want it destroyed, I'll delete everything myself. The council members consulted amongst themselves in frequencies beyond human hearing. Finally, Zaltros agreed. Sarah connected the drive to their systems. The equations flowed across their displays, beautiful and terrible in their implications. Then she activated a small device she had brought with her. Around them, reality began to shimmer. Zaltros saw himself making different choices throughout his long life. He saw versions of himself who had shown mercy, who had chosen peace over expansion, who had valued freedom over order. He saw the civilizations the council had subjugated, and he saw them thriving in timelines where different choices had been made. But he also saw the cost. He saw timelines where his mercy had led to greater suffering. Where his peace had enabled tyrants. Where his freedom had caused chaos that consumed billions. The vision ended. Zaltros felt something he had never experienced, humility. The human's gambit. You showed me the weight of choices, Zaltros said quietly. You showed me that there are no simple answers. Sarah nodded. Every being with consciousness faces this burden. The question is, do we trust ourselves and each other to bear it, or do we surrender our agency to those who claim to know better? If we allow this technology to exist, it will spread. Others will recreate your work. Yes, Sarah agreed. Eventually, they will. The knowledge exists now. You can't uninvent discovery. Zaltros's form dimmed. Then we will destroy your world. Tragic, but necessary to prevent greater catastrophe. Sarah smiled then, and it was a smile that made the ancient commander pause. That's where you're wrong, she said. You see, I've already made my choice. Before I came aboard your ship, I used the probability collapse technology one time. Just once. The commander's sensors screamed warnings. What have you done? The choice that changed everything. Sarah's voice was steady. I made a choice that echoes across all possible timelines where you destroy Earth. In every single one of those realities, the destruction of my planet triggers a cascade effect. My research, my equations, they're not stored in one place. They're distributed, quantum encrypted, across thousands of locations throughout your own galactic network. Impossible. We would have detected. You would have detected conventional data transfers, yes. But quantum probability collapse doesn't work that way. The information doesn't travel. It simply exists in multiple states simultaneously until observed. Zaltros understood then. If you die, if Earth is destroyed, the research becomes accessible to every species in the galaxy instantly. No encryption, no protection. Every civilization will have the ability to rewrite their own timelines. Including all the species you've conquered, all the worlds you've suppressed. The galaxy holds its breath. The silence in the command chamber was absolute. Zaltros ran probability simulations. Every scenario where Earth was destroyed led to the collapse of the Galactic Council's power structure. Chaos across 1,000,000 worlds. Perhaps endless war as civilizations fought to reshape reality itself. But if they let Earth survive, if they let this human return with her knowledge intact. You forced a stalemate, Zaltros said. We cannot destroy you without destroying ourselves. Not a stalemate, Sarah corrected. A choice. You can continue trying to control the galaxy through fear and force, knowing that eventually, this technology will spread anyway. Or you can work with us, with Earth, to develop ethical frameworks for how this knowledge should be used. You trust us to do that? After we threatened your world. Sarah's expression softened. You came here because you were afraid of what one human's choice could do. You've just learned that one human's choice can do exactly what you feared. The question is, what will you choose now? The aftermath. Commander Zaltros made a decision that day that would be studied for generations. He chose to withdraw the fleet. He chose to open diplomatic relations with Earth. And he chose to present Sarah Martinez's proposal to the full Galactic Council. The debate lasted for cycles. Some demanded war despite the consequences. Others saw an opportunity for genuine change. Eventually, the Council agreed to establish the Institute of Probability Ethics, headquartered on Earth, governed jointly by humans and representatives from across the galaxy. Sarah Martinez never used the probability collapse technology again. She didn't need to. The mere possibility that she could was enough to change everything. The legend spreads. Across the galaxy, the story spread. The story of the human who had faced down an empire not with weapons, but with the weight of a single choice. The scientist who had proven that consciousness, free will, and the courage to decide could be more powerful than any fleet. Other species began to question their own subjugation. The Council, knowing that Sarah's technology could be triggered at any time, found themselves forced to negotiate rather than dominate. Power structures that had stood for millennia began to shift. And Earth, that small blue world in an unremarkable corner of space, became the most protected planet in the galaxy. Not because of its military might, but because its destruction would unleash consequences no one could control. The price of power. Years later, a young reporter asked Dr. Martinez if she ever regretted the burden she had placed on humanity, making Earth a target for any who might seek the probability technology. Sarah thought for a long moment before answering. Every choice has consequences. Every discovery changes the world. The question isn't whether we should make choices or pursue knowledge. The question is whether we have the wisdom to handle the responsibility that comes with them. And do we? Does humanity have that wisdom? Sarah smiled. We're learning. And now, thanks to what happened, we're learning alongside the entire galaxy. That's the real gift of that day. Not the technology. Not the power. But the realization that we all face the same fundamental challenge, how to choose wisely when the consequences echo across time and space. The legacy. The Galactic Council never forgot the day one human's decision changed everything. They established monuments, not to conquest or power, but to the concept of consequential choice. Schools across 1,000 worlds taught the story of Sarah Martinez and the probability collapse that wasn't. Because here's what most beings never understood. Sarah had bluffed. The quantum distribution of her research across the galactic network. Theoretically possible, but she hadn't actually done it. The technology wasn't developed enough. She had gambled everything on the Council believing she had, on them running the same probability calculations she had run, and reaching the same conclusion. Her one use of the probability collapse technology hadn't distributed her research. It had done something far simpler. It had ensured that in at least one timeline, she would have the courage to face Zaltros without flinching, to make her bluff convincing enough to change history. She had used the power to reshape reality for one purpose, to give herself the strength to choose bravely in a moment when bravery mattered most. And that choice, that single human decision made in a moment of impossible pressure, had taught the galaxy to fear not humanity's weapons, not their technology, but something far more powerful, their capacity to choose courageously in the face of overwhelming odds. The galaxy had learned that day that humanity's true danger wasn't in their science. It was in their willingness to make decisions that mattered, to stand by their choices, and to face the consequences with their eyes wide open. And that, more than any weapon, was why the galaxy learned to fear a single human decision.